think my favorite photos in this book are the ones that disrupt whatever understandings we have. Obviously, there's a book with there's a picture of the main building and the clock tower, but I love this picture because this isn't what people think about when they think of UCC. It's kids having fun being together, and I think that that's really very, very true. And I love this picture as well because again, it disrupts whatever perception you would have, and yet again, this is the reality. This is my experience of it. It's really just a place of joy, of excitement, of aspiration and challenge. Yes, those things as well. But it just feels lovely to be there. If I were conducting the tours of this school, in a way, the first thing that I would want them to see would be the prep school, because I think it really forms the foundation of the rest of the school, but it also is, it's in its own building, and you really get the sense of the humanness of it all. One of the year 3 teachers said to me, I want to feel that I'm in their space, not that they're in my space. And so these classrooms are really created with the perspective of the students very much in mind. And they're really quite lovely. Although it is, in downtown Toronto, quite literally, it really does feel like you're sort of apart from that. There's lots of green, there seems to be lots of space to breathe. I think all of it just gives you a sense of belonging, that when you're on campus, here you are, It gives you a sense of place, a sense of calm. Arriving on campus, it is an impressive, impressive school. And you walk in the main doors underneath that clock tower, and there's this large inlaid, crest in the floor. It's all marble, it's all glass. It is a very impressive environment. You enter and you feel like you could make a wrong move, and you kind of are very mindful of yourself. But again, you very quickly realize that that's just not the way it is. No matter what the reputation is, no matter what the building looks like, the purpose of the school is that it's a place for children and young people, and that they really keep that very much top of mind, and that's clear as you work through the environment. I arrived the first day to tour the school, and I'm just sort of in awe of it all. And I walk in and I check in, and they say, just wait here. And so I'm standing there. And, it's kind of echoey. It's kind of, it's a lot of marble. This guy comes along and says, hey, how are you doing? And we started into this conversation, and he was lovely. After we talked for a bit, he says, why are you here? And I said, oh, I'm a writer with our kids, and I'm going to be touring the school today. And he's like, oh, I'm your 10 o'clock. And that's what I realized, oh, that's Sam Mckenny. He's the headmaster of the school. And I think that whole exchange is just so telling of his leadership, of the person that he is, and the personality that he's brought to this school. It is just a very light environment. He's a delight to speak to, and he wants people to feel welcome there, as does everyone. Maybe I can make too much of these things, but I think Sam Mckenny brings something so fresh to the school. I mean, he grew up in St. Catharines. He worked in the public school system. He's traveled the world. He worked as a teacher, I believe, in Australia. And so he didn't inherit this kind of by rote. He's there for very specific reasons. And I think the personality that he can bring is one of them, that he's just so friendly. And he behaves that way with everyone in the course of the day. Again, he's very approachable. He's out and about, walking through the dining hall at lunch or whatever, and just saying hello. And that's just a lovely thing to see. And then the other part of it is that he's just a very, very effective leader. When he came in, he decided, that we're going to do things a bit differently in some ways. In some ways, we're going to revert to some things that we used to do and bring them back. But to be very intentional about the leadership and say, what do people need now? What do young people need now? Are we giving it to them? And let's find ways of giving it to them. The teachers, frankly, are delightful. They have high ideals and they have strong opinions, but they're also just very collegial. They seem to get along so well with each other, and they really have that shared perspective about this is about us working with young people. I think what the staff really want to give to the students is a sense that they can bring their talents toward making the world better in some way. And that doesn't necessarily have to be, large on the level of governments, but also in communities as well. I think the faculty really want to deliver all those character pieces, that sense of humility, but also that idea that we have an ability to affect change, to make things better for the person sitting next to us, for somebody in our family, for people in our community, and beyond that. And I think that's what they really want the boys to walk out of the school with, not just the degree, but also that sense that they have the ability and should accept the challenge of deploying their talents toward making things better. I think there are some people that might believe these schools are about privilege, and the privilege that comes from all different aspects of who we are. But I think that they really make it clear to the students that that's not what this is about. How they interact with the rest of the world is very telling, and they have the largest financial aid program by far of any private school in Canada, by far. I mean, the history is impressive and it's all very interesting, but as a reflection of what the school is today, I think people need to understand that that's not what the school is today. That just as the country has changed, so has the school. I believe the mission of the school is to really educate well-rounded human beings and to send them out into the world with all those values that we think of as being well-rounded, as being, compassionate and empathetic, knowledgeable about the world, having had experiences with all sorts of people, a lot of diversity, and that's true of the school as well. I think whatever you've heard about it historically, you might not think it's a very diverse campus, and it actually is, as all schools are these days, and should be, and I think that's true here as well. I think the school wants to deliver people who are confident, but knowing that confidence is a difficult term. It doesn't come from a false belief in one's abilities. I think it wants to educate people into a sense of what their abilities are and to be confident about those, and to also know the boundaries of those abilities, and to be realistic about what they can bring, what they're very good at, and to be able to listen to others when that's important too. So I went on a tour, and it was absolutely delightful with this year 9 student, I guess. He was really excited to show me around, and I guess that's why he had volunteered to do these sorts of tours. But I also love that they sent me off with him. He's quite young, and he's showing me the whole school, and really showing me the room, the spaces from his perspective. It really was not the grand things, not the look at this. It really was the very personal things that he was excited to show me. He wanted to, when we walked through one area of the school, he showed me where he used to hang his coat when he was in whatever grade, And again, the places that it was all related to his own experience, which was so great. So that's that idea of, us being in their space rather than the other way around. He really saw it as his space. What's funny is that at one point I asked him what he wanted to be, and he said, really without even taking a beat, he says, I want to be prime minister. Which I thought, wow, that's really something. And when I talked to Sam Mckenny afterwards, he thought that was quite delightful, in that the kid could even think that way and not be abashed. And most kids in other environments, they might not say it out loud. He liked that sense of possibility was a product of the school, and he talked about aspirations, and that if you're sitting next to somebody who has aspirations, then you take them on, that you understand that your aspirations have value as well, and it kind of raises the game of everyone. And whether or not that boy will become prime minister, we'll wait and see. I think he might actually. It can seem on paper like a very big school, but the feel of it isn't that. It doesn't feel big. It does feel much more personal than you might imagine. When you do arrive on campus, you see the sports facilities are impressive. I mean, the athletics program is absolutely impressive. And you might think this is kind of one of those schools for everybody plays rugby. But the school really makes a point in their assemblies to really honor all the different things that the students are involved in. So there are awards and also recognitions for everything, from the arts to sports to the co-curriculars. There are different ways of looking at competition. There's positive ways and negative ways. And I think competition absolutely has a place in any endeavor. I think, by being next to somebody who's achieving, that will make us want to achieve. And I think the school absolutely recognizes that. But as Sam Mckenny said, to me, it's important also to educate the kids around the ideas of graciousness and humility and those things as well. And really understanding your limits and being able to celebrate the successes of others. As any school would say, there is no typical student. And that is absolutely the truth at UCC as well. I think they've made a point of over the course of decades to introduce all those diversities into their student population, and they've been very successful in that. But I think one thing that they share is an appreciation of where they are. The students really feel that they're part of a community, a long-standing community that includes them and everyone that went before them. And the traditions kind of really speak to them. The boys singing in "You'll Never Walk Alone." You talk to alumni, and it brings them to tears. And that's a nice aspect of this, that they have that really sincere emotional attachment, and that the school has these traditions in order to bring those sorts of emotional attachments forward. It really is about finding the kid who's the right fit for this environment, the boy who can thrive in this environment. The cliche is if you play tennis against somebody who's a better tennis player than you play better yourself. And I think we've all experienced that. And I think one of the reasons that people choose this school is because it is very rigorous. It does attract the students who are looking for that rigor, who are able to achieve and will achieve. And by entering a milieu of those people, then it raises everybody's game. And I think that's very true at UCC. But yeah, it is an impressive institution, and it can't help but raise people's game. And the adoption of the IB was just a natural fit for them. It wasn't sort of a left turn. It was more like, this is what we're already doing. This is how we've been developing. We want to be intentional. We want to back up our curriculum with real research. They have a research center on site to do exactly that, and to craft the curriculum in very intentional ways. They really take opportunities to extend the curriculum, and they have project weeks where an entire grade will gather together sort of around a topic area and see that through. It's something maybe like UN Sustainable Development Goals or something, and these big topics, and they'll bring them in, topics that really reach well beyond the school, and tie them into what they're learning in the IB curriculum. And they'll even take them for that week sort of off the normal timetable, really step them outside of what they've been doing to look at things in maybe a different way. You see the clock tower, you see the buildings. All the impressions that those things give are of an old school, a very wealthy school. And so you arrive for the first time with all those preconceptions kind of on board. From the first minute, they start to become disrupted. And you see that whatever preconceptions you had, they are just no longer in play. To see the joy and the fun and the lightness of life on campus is the thing that really kind of hits you kind of first off. This feature review has been published as a book, and it's also available online at ourkids.net.